Very glad you stayed on with us on the press on KAFTAN television this beautiful Tuesday morning. And we keep our promises. Like I told you, our guest is right here in the studio with us live. And it's a pleasure for me to introduce him to you. Let me tell you one or two things. Our guest is the president and the national coordinator of the Not Too Young to Perform Leadership Development Agency. He's also advocacy. He's also the deputy national publicity secretary of Confidence of Nigeria Political Party, CNPP. He's also a journalist and public affairs analyst. In addition to that, he is the president of the Association of Bloggers and Journalists Against Fake News. He actually has his blog, which is a very interesting one. You want to check it out right after this program. It's called Street Reporters. Okay, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the studio. Happy to introduce you watching to Comrade James Ezema. Happy to meet you myself.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Pleasure being here.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Okay, your strong forte is going to be business and politics. I'm with you. I love business. I love politics. So I think, let's start with business, because I dominated this morning with some people even predicting petrol pump prices may drop as Dangote marketers sign deal. Another has petrol prices, marketers sign deal. He's going to lift it. He's now going to be lifting it directly. What do they mean? Where was it being lifted before? Did it go through NNPCL? What was the situation? And will these petrol prices drop? I've asked you like 7 questions in one. Choose one.
I think the situation has been confusing all this while, because while NNPC on the other hand was giving us what they said was the price of petroleum products, Dangote Refinery on the other hand was keeping mute about the exact amount that we're selling to the NNPC. Yeah. So it was like a game, and IPMAN on the other side, the IPMAN on the other side, the independent marketers on the other side were in between. They a little bit to this side, they dance a little bit to the other side, and at the end of the day, you don't even know what was happening. I think we are getting closer to understanding what is happening within the petroleum industry in Nigeria. And one of the interesting things is that Nigerians, stood up and they have been advocating against what was supposedly we call it the role of the NNPC at the time, because NNPC was trying to play the regulator role at a point, and people were like, no, you cannot be a competitor and are also a regulator at the same time. When they said, oh no, petroleum marketers, you come to us to buy your petrol. In fact, at a point, the independent marketers, they said that they paid about 40 billion naira to NNPC for Dangote Refinery products, but at the end of the day, they started expressing displeasure that they were finding it difficult to load their product. And Dangote on the other side came out and said, no, we did not receive any money from you. So the confusion has been there all this while. So, and I think the case is getting clearer, because I have been wondering why should we have petroleum products produced in Nigeria becoming more expensive than the ones that were imported, and it's either the ones that have been imported have been a substandard product, or the grade that was being imported is not the grade that we are having from the Dangote Refinery, or there is something somewhere along the way that we don't understand. So I think we are getting to the point that where we can now explain some of these things as the day goes by. But as it is now, I think we should be happy that at least we are seeing that these bottlenecks are being removed, so that we can now know who to blame if it's Dangote that we are going to blame or the independent marketers that we are going to blame if the price of petroleum products are a bit higher than what it should be. So that is how it is, but I think it is a good development.
Oh, I wish I could share your optimism. Okay, when we now know who to blame, what happens with about our blame? Because what will happen, you drive over to the petrol station and, you know, how much is petrol now? Whatever they're selling it for, you've got to buy, isn't it? Are you going to say, but I thought that Dangote had met with the, please, nobody's going to listen to that grammar. So whatever they're selling, and then plus, you know, you're going to find it very available on the black market. What are they doing about this black market issue? There seems to be no way they're sealing it. They're not hiding.
No, the issue of black market is the black market issue is something that will die a natural death. It's not this enforcement that is going to stop black marketing. Once a product is not scarce, you will not see anybody going to patronize people selling by the roadside. Okay. So we have had a period in this country that black marketers were nowhere to be found on our streets and anywhere. So it is just when some of these artificial creations, because I call it artificial creation because there's no need for all this drama that followed the Dangote Refinery's operation. After all, the place was commissioned by the former president before he left. So before now, they have had a plan of how they are going to carry out operations, and the government on their side should also have had a plan on how they can bring in the new players on board. So it is just a situation whereby interests, some people call them the cartels within the oil industry. Interests were being the interest of certain business entities was becoming more of a thing of to be prioritized than the welfare of the ordinary citizen, and that's what we are seeing every day even in our politics. So things that we see in Nigeria are those things that once the well-to-do are favored, then the rest of the people can go and help themselves if they can. So it's a big issue, but now let's be hopeful and believe that with the ball, now that the ball is in the court of Dangote Refinery, let's see how the game will be played.
It's the exact case where the ball is that is making me crazy. Because Dangote opened this refinery not as a donatus. He didn't open it as a helper to Nigerian. He didn't open it. He didn't open it for any sentiment. Sure. You understand? So I cannot. And then him alone with the others all shut down, and then all the other small, should I say, underground ones also being dismantled. It's a complete monopoly. I've never seen since economics started in this world that I live in, where a monopoly you start lower prices. Will cut your head.
No, I want to be optimistic in the sense that
no, I want to start optimism. I would love to.
But the truth is that
but the bots are too many for
yes. Let us start first and know what the Dangote Refinery is going to do, how they are going to play. But when they were, the former administration was, and their promoters and supporters were so optimistic about this Dangote Refinery coming on board and things like that, and then the prices of the petroleum products crashing and things like that. I used to tell them that some of these businesses are having other businesses in the country, so I have not seen them, where they kind of have crash the price of any, but the problem is that, you see, in this petroleum industry there is a special area in the sense that this is the first time we are now we are returning to having our product produced locally. Okay. So people believe that why the price is going to be cheaper is because of the landing cost from importation to to the very pump where people go to get their products in their localities. So it is something that people were kind of looking forward to, that a time when we have a refinery working in the country. And as a matter of fact, Dangote Refinery is not even only the refinery that we have in Nigeria. So there are some other smaller refineries, but his own is the biggest. We have some other refineries which are already almost coming into operation too. So but when the government refinery is not working, we have to rely on the private refineries. And if the bottlenecks that are being created artificially by agencies of government and things like that, you remember at a point they were even saying that Dangote could not get a license to distribute and things like that. So now you spend time to build a refinery and got a point you are talking about license and things like that. How did he start operation in the first place if he does not have the license to distribute the product? So these are some of the politics that come into play while people try to protect their own interests. But let's see how it's going to be, because if the products are too exorbitant or something far away from what we used to have when we were importing the petroleum product, we ask questions.
Okay. The first question we even need to ask actually is ex-depot price not decided. So this, I hope they're going to let us know when the decision comes out, because if that information is not in the public space, then we'll be left in the dark when we actually go to buy them.
Yeah,
because if maybe petrol station A fills your tank at such and such and such. Since I don't know the ex-depot price anyway, I will just feel blindly.
I think that is just part of the politics of the petroleum pricing. The politics of petroleum pricing is in such a way that there's no need to tell you how much we are going to.
No, we want to know.
Yeah, we will know when they start lifting. I think they themselves may not have even known how much that Dangote is going to sell to them. So if by the time, but one thing they assured us is that IPMAN assured us that the price will be affordable. Okay. So for the fact that they said it's going to be affordable, let's see how affordable it will be before we can complain. But for now, I want to believe that the price will be affordable.
Okay. Affordable petrol coming your way. Okay, let's remain optimistic. And it's on that optimistic note we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, this discussion and others will continue, and we'll be expecting calls from you to let us know how you feel on any of the subjects. So stay with us, we'll be right back. You're welcome back. Thanks for staying there. It's still the press on KAFTAN television, reaching you live from our studios here in Abuja, and we are still talking to our dear guest in the person of Comrade James Ezema, the publisher of the online paper Street Reporters, amongst so many other things. Well, he's a political guru, so I'm going to ask him one or two questions on the ongoing trending issue, which is the back and forth between the presidency and the former vice president. And presidential candidate over his comments about his, not only the mandate being stolen, but also the way Nigeria is being governed today, because he is saying that the suffering is rather too much for Nigerians and that the administration needs to change some of the economic policies to suit the people. The presidency on the other side is saying, oh, you're just jealous. You're jealous of us. You want to be here and you're not. And, insinuating that he's a mere sorry loser. What do you think about
it's all about politics.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all about politics, and when people play politics, and sometimes Nigerians do take some of these things more serious than it is. So these people are people that they are together in so many things. You saw how all of them will gather together when there is a marriage ceremony and things like that. So they don't really. It's just us who are the ordinary citizens that they always put on the kind of receiving end with their bashing back and forth. But for me, I believe that all these things are necessary. The very first thing that a government in office should be doing is not to be going back and forth talking about people. You should be able to close the mouth of the critics by your performance, not by what you are saying. You cannot there's no way the government of the day can tell Nigerians that they are not suffering. So because these are the things that they feel, they go to the market on daily basis, price of things are going higher and higher, and these are just because of certain policies that the government has put in place, especially this issue of petroleum product that we have talked about. I don't know why the government actually had to be hell-bent on insisting that the price of petrol should be so high, to the extent that, because that affects every other aspect of other sectors. People, there's nothing you don't transport by road in Nigeria. So what are we now saying? So that's the reason why people are crying everywhere, and the pain is actually something that is not something anybody can wish away. No matter how the government try to look at it, there's no way you can wish away the pains that people are going through. Go to the street, go to the local communities, and you will see how people are passing. Before, people used to talk about people not having 1 square meal a day, but we are talking about people having been able to afford the 1 square meal in maybe 2 or 3 days. Well, so it is becoming very terrible, and things are not getting better, because each day you go to the market, the price that you bought something will have changed, and then the prices have increased, and you begin to ask yourself, how can we continue like, okay, we saw the prediction on dollar. Now you are floating the naira at the same time that you are removing subsidy, and what do you expect? What do you expect? Now most of our economy is actually import dependent, so and you have to look for foreign exchange to get 1 or 2 things into the country, and you will now at the same time be removing fuel subsidy, and you expect that there will be no high cost of living. I don't know where that economics came from, but I don't think that is something the new government. There's no government in the world that does not subsidize something. The government in the US, in the UK, whether it's Europe and the Americas, they all subsidize one thing or the other for their citizens. Especially in some of those European and Western countries, you don't see people talking about food. Food is not part of something. Somebody will come and be talking about food as if food is taken for granted there, so that people can feed. Whether you are working or not working, you can feed yourself. So they are talking about how to better their life in every other aspect, but not about food. But in Nigeria, we are talking about food, we are talking about water, we are talking about electricity, we are talking about road, we are talking about security. There is no aspect of our life that we are not every day discussing. Somebody was talking I was coming in, he say for over 30 years he has been, kind of hearing about the prices of food, water, this and that, and things like that. So, he had been expecting that things would be better. But just like all of us, we have been hearing about. I remember in those days of MAMSA that they were talking about food for all by the year 2000, as if the year 2000 was not going to come. But here we are in 2014, 14 years after, we are still talking about 2024, about 24 years after, we are still hearing about these same issues of electricity, food, and things like that. So the government should actually go on working so that we can see what is it that will make you to reverse a policy that you see that is detrimental to your own kind of interest, which is to deliver good governance to the people. So I don't see any reason why there should not be a reversal of certain policies when you see that it's not working, it's not giving you the expected end. And then you said we hear that the government is saving so amount of money, from petroleum, and then you still ask yourself, where are the money? Now there is the mathematics of these things. Now you have so much money, but it can buy you nothing. When you hear big money, how much do they award contracts? In those days that we had fuel subsidy, how much will you use to award a kilometer of road? And now that there's no subsidy, how much are you going to spend in awarding a kilometer of road? Because some of these things are just things that people just look at if the volume of money. But how much is that money worth? The value of that money is what is the issue. Now, so if somebody was earning 20,000 in 2014 and the person is earning probably 100,000 today, the person earning 20,000 in 2014 is probably better off than somebody who is earning 100,000 today, because what 20,000 could buy that time, you could buy a bag of rice. From that 20,000, you could buy a bag of rice, a bag of beans, a bag of maize, and you will still have some reserves. But today, 100,000 can barely buy you a bag of rice.
They can't.
So this is the issue. So it's not about the volume of money. When we start talking about the volume of money, as if it's about we have saved 50-something billion, we have saved 50-something trillion, and things like that. Is what is the worth? What is the value of that money, and what can it buy today? And that is what the government should be talking about, and not bringing down the cost of things and make life more affordable for the citizens, so that at the end of the day, the Nigerian person, the ordinary person on the street, will now have a kind of relief, and know that he can now live to see those days that we are talking that the things will be better, because the government have been giving us reasons to endure the pain and wait for things to get better, but the person has to be alive until that day.
You have to be alive to enjoy the benefits. Yes. Anyway, let's just move away from politics at the center, because despite, no matter how worthless it would be, why wouldn't the state governors pay the minimum wage? Because if you feel that people are suffering, people are enduring, people are going through all this hardship, prices are increasing, then you're giving them this little tiny package, 30,000 naira a month, and bluntly refusing to increase the minimum wage. There are like 16 governments up till now who haven't paid, and those that have are still on, maybe with the exception of maybe Rivers, I think Oyo. Very few states are actually paying. Edo clicked on first with 75,000. The rest are just talking about it. Oh, we were going to pay 80,000 naira, but you see the committee is going to meet middle of November. The committee is meeting middle of November. Minimum wage was agreed middle of this year. Okay, did you even have to wait for the committee? Because everybody keeps talking. If there's one conversation that won't go off Nigerians' mouths, it's this: on May 29, they announced subsidy has gone. That same day, many governors were sworn in. All the governors except the off-cycle election governors were sworn in. Yeah. They heard it as well as you and I heard it. So why didn't they, then knowing that its subsidy removal has gone, implement a minimum wage without waiting for the federal government? No, I think a responsible government should have done that, don't you think?
Yeah, we are talking of federation.
The volume that comes in now, is incomparable. So somebody who had 8 billion naira a month for the whole state is now collecting 25 billion for the whole state, and till date would not pay the new minimum wage. So which is it to be now? Also, can they return the fuel subsidy back so that you understand? So in as much, I'm not saying the blame also goes to the federal, but at the state government level, why would any governor? I find it heartless. I find it unconscionable. You're receiving every month, you're getting this federal allocation. Bonanza, you mean you just sit down and it just flies in. And the money is increasing. It's increasing. It's not increasing the way our own are increasing. It's more maybe, literally you went to buy this phone, it was 100,000. The next one is 200. No, from 8 last month, 25 this month, billion. You can't just pay your citizens this minimum wage. And the pensioners, as they're crying that their money isn't even paid at the former wage, they're still being owed. What could possibly be the cause of a governor owing a pensioner? When already he's listed, you understand? He's captured, as they say in the budget. He's listed. What's the problem?
I think it's just like the other problems that we are having in the country. There's nothing peculiar about this issue of minimum wage. It is just because, when something is not in the interest of the political elite, you cannot get it done. And they will frustrate it one way or the other, or they delay it if they cannot frustrate it. And that is what we are just experiencing with this minimum wage. There is no reason why a governor who was part of the negotiation for this minimum wage will now be waiting for a committee to now sit and decide on how and why he will pay the minimum wage. So it just the way there were governments that were paying about 18,000 as at the before this 2023 governments came on board. Some governments were paying 25% to of even the 18,000, 25% of 30,000, things like that. So you really begin to wonder why such will be happening when the state get allocations, they generate internally, they generate their revenue, and how many are even these workers in the first place?
Absolutely.
Because these workers, they are not so many. No. When we are talking about minimum wage, I have always had the opinion that minimum wage should not be even what we should be discussing about. What we should be discussing about is how will government bring down the price of things. This is a private organization. Now, we are talking of minimum wage. The government is fixing minimum wage. How is this organization now running? How are they going to remain afloat even if they are going to pay the minimum wage? So you have to, there are so many factors to be considered. The woman that is selling food by the roadside is having some 1 or 2 persons that are attending to customers. Now, how is she going to afford 70,000 to pay those people? So these are the things, and then these same people go to the same market where every other person goes. So it is a big problem and a big challenge. I think the government should begin to rethink how do we bring down price of things. It's not all this minimum wage thing, because the any governor that say he cannot pay minimum wage is not sincere and is not serious.
So on that note, then what can be done to
it's only a political.
We can compel them.
Yeah, no, it's only a political way to do the right thing. And it's not there. So it's just that the people have to continue to make a demand, keep demanding that the right thing be done. Otherwise, I don't know why the government of the state governor for that matter will say he cannot pay minimum wage. I do that does not show sincerity, does not show leadership, does not show that the person actually wants the best for the state workers. So at a point some states were okay because of the cost of transportation and that some people come to work 2 times a week, some come 3 times a week, all those kind of things. Then what do you do about productivity? We are talking about economy that is not okay, and then we are talking about some people staying at home and other people going to work, and then because you want to do it because of the cost of transportation. Why not invest in things that probably say, okay, since the price of things are like this, let us get staff buses that will be picking people from different places at a subsidized rate, they being a government, so that you can at least have something that have a way to cushion the impact of some of these exorbitant prices that people are experiencing every day in the market. So it is just the government. They are not sincere to at all. But if they are sincere, they will solve this problem. It's just when we talk about this federal government on their own side, you look at them, when Abacha, I remember in those days when Abacha increased fuel petrol by 4 naira, it was actually by 4 naira. He established the PTDF that we saw roads that were being constructed, we saw schools, we saw things, and then when Goodluck Jonathan came on board, after the back and forth of removal of subsidy, he now increased the fuel by around 11 naira or thereabout, and then at the end of the day, we saw what the buses that the government decided to invest in transportation. Some of these commercial commercial buses operators, they give them some soft loans to be able to buy vehicles, and they reduce the cost of transportation for the people. So the government should be talking about, in the last nearly 1.5 years or more than 1.5 years that the subsidy is gone, we have not seen any concrete thing that the government have done to say, okay, let us do this practical solution to reduce the cost of transportation, because all these things that we are seeing about cost of living increasing on daily basis are just from two policies of government: the removal of subsidy and the floating of the naira. These are the two things that are troubling the Nigerian economy, and the government should do something about it. And if once they do something about that, everything will come back to normal.
Well, I'd like to know, quoting our colleague on the press here, Mercy said her guest, Omoyele Sowore, said, oh, well, what they do about things is, you're talking about high cost of living? Give them rice.
No, it's a governance by palliative. No, you see, there's no place in the world where they talk about rice. The truth of the matter is that there's no place in the world where governance is done by palliatives. Palliative is for an emergency situation. People, probably there's a natural disaster, yes, and people are in IDP. Yes. You can say, okay, let us create something that will cushion the impact of this, because it's on a temporary basis. But what we are experiencing right now is not something that is anywhere temporary. It's something that has, for a year and some months, we see prices moving at a geometrical progression, and it's not something that somebody will actually say is not touching the individual. Even those in government, they know how much they used to fuel their cars in those days. Even most of them are enjoying fuel that is paid by the government, so they don't really know. All they know is to sign the papers. Okay. I remember that one person that was in one of the state governments, he was a director, and they used to bring voucher for him to sign by the dry cleaner. Every week they come and give him voucher. Sometimes he doesn't. If I later began to know that he was not even looking at how much that was there. He just signed, and when he retired, the same person was now coming to the house. He brought the list and he looked at it. He said, "What is this? That's what you haven't paid all along." He said, "No, I cannot pay this." So these are the things. Yeah.
Very funny indeed.
It's very, very funny because the government, we have people in government who are not actually sincere. They know they don't want to face the reality. They don't want to do that which they are supposed to do. They are so insensitive, and that is actually not. These people, it's not as if these people don't know what to do. When you know that these people knows what to do is when it is an election time. Let them come at the campaign podium. They will tell you all that they know that is what you want to hear. Yes, they will tell you everything. But once they get to office, they start prioritizing other things than the welfare of the citizen, and it's a very bad situation.
So what can we do, especially like I think
the best thing is for us to begin to look at how people get into office. And the truth of it is that, like we saw in the papers that they were talking about parties perfecting how they are going to do vote buying, and it is human beings that will go and collect this money and then vote away their conscience and vote away the right person that would have given them succor, and at the end of the day they will still come back and start complaining. So I think the right thing that we should do is for us to focus on producing the right leadership, because the only problem we have in Nigeria is leadership problem.
No, but can I make a confession?
Yeah.
I cannot see how vote buying is the problem. Is it that I'm blind? Am I not seeing? No, to be quite honest, I have never been vote bought. So when I hear people say, when we got back, my landlord came and knocked on the door. He said, everyone in this compound, here's all this money and like voters' appreciation for going out to vote. And they didn't even ask which party you voted. I'm like, what? Some say when they're the polling unit. Is it my face or is it all this talking I'm talking that they don't come and give me? Because I've never been bought, but I'm not opposed to it. Listen, if you want to buy now. How does that influence you? See, what we're doing is open secret ballot. What is it called? Whatsoever I mark there, I mark. You understand?
Yeah.
Put it in the box.
Is it
how does your buying me?
As a journalist, I've covered the elections.
I'm so sorry to confess my sin. I wanted to be bought. One election, come around and buy me now. Who are these people that buy? The stuff I'm going to do that I already knew before I left my house. I'm marking and put it in. It's not government money I'm coming to buy people with. Let me see. No, on a more serious note, I don't see how vote buying can possibly be the problem. I don't know why. I don't find that really, sincere about INEC. That's all these things going on is vote buying that you are making like it's a national issue. How about all this violence? How about a situation whereby here I am at the polling unit. Let's say 100 people came over to the polling unit and maybe APC won by 70 votes, counted, you show it to us, you record it and everything. I open my television, my radio, whatever. That's my polling unit. 290 was a victory for APC. You understand? How can you announce the thing that was submitted to you before my Koro eyes at 70? You want that one is not the issue for you, it's vote buying. What is vote buying? To me, vote buying to me doesn't exist, though, to be quite honest. Share all the money you want to share. The paper is with me. It's open secret ballot. This is I squeeze it out. They'll show you how you fold it, drop it in. Then you begin to count what is there. So what they should be doing is sitting down to look internally. What's the problem? Then this business, okay, look at now. Now we have, should we saw all the news now is how we're going to escape from a new terrorist group, yeah?
Yeah.
Look at what's it called? Let's start
they are saying it's not new.
Okay. Now, I've not heard it backed up by, we've deployed 100 million troops. We've deployed the security sniffer dogs. We've deployed. But the election is coming up on Saturday. My God, you've deployed NSDCC, and you've deployed for election. Okay, how come there's all this election violence?
You see, some of those things are part of the failure of leadership that we are talking about. You know, you see some of them, they will talk about Trump's election and things like that. You see African leaders, you know, praising Trump, praising, congratulations in your election, this and that, you know. And you see that the Nigerian system is such that our leaders don't want to do the right thing, that they don't. If you were in Nigeria, that election was conducted in 50 states, and you will see that the distance between one state can be maybe 6 hours flight, you know, but still the election result was announced within 24 hours. And in Nigeria here, we will conduct a local government election. It will take 2-3 days for the result to be announced, because people are perfecting how the result outcome will be. Let us see how we are going to from local government collation center to state collation center, from state collation center to the national collation center, all those kind of things. And then all those things are just a way that people use to see how election results could be manipulated. For me, I don't think we need all those in this kind of technological age. But even at that, we had an election in 2023 where at the end of the day, INEC said there was a glitch that led to the inability to post the election of a president that was conducted alongside that of the Senate, the National Assembly members. And then the National Assembly members were able to, you know, process the electronic transmission. But the presidential election, we were not able to. And then these elections held on the same day. And then this glitch happened on the presidential, but did not affect the other one. So you see that some of these problems we have in the country, they are all man-made problems. They are problems we create by ourselves based on our interest and things that we want to achieve. So it is something that it's not as if it's something that is so difficult to overcome. No, it is just because of the human elements in the system that frustrate everything based on what interest they have. You know, see the judiciary. You know, the judiciary. The CJN was talking about the judiciary, the judges redeeming the image of the judiciary in the newspaper review. You see, why should that be a topic? Why should that be something to discuss? Why should we be talking about redeeming the image? That means they also know that their image is bad. It's better than they need to redeem it. So, and it's a big issue. We shouldn't be talking about judicial. Okay, see in a US election, you know, how the thing went, despite the fact that we all these people, we saw the trials and things like that. If we were in Nigeria, there's no way anybody will want to follow the rule of law. They will think that the rule of law will take a longer time, and the person should be convicted, you know, by the person who is the accuser and the judge, and everything all at the same time. So that is the problem we have in Nigeria.
Okay, well, speaking to you is wonderful. Time is so unfriendly. We can continue this discussion. So what you're going to do is promise us next time you're going to be around here in the studio. But
I will be very much glad to get up.
So what you're going to do is give us your final, you know, your parting shot to Nigerians, and then we'll have to call it a wrap.
I think the Nigerians should also begin to think of how to participate in this political process, because truly, if you continue to say that the political process is corrupted and things like that, and you are a nice person, a good person, somebody who has good intention, and you are not participating in the process, I think you are doing the country a disfavor. So it is time for us, every one of us, to come out and join the political process and make sure that we clean the system from the inside. Otherwise, we will continue to complain.
We will continue to complain otherwise. So that's a clarion call to Nigerians to participate, not just by voting, but also being voted for. That's also our right. But the financial muscle is also a factor.
When the people are ready, the finance will not be a problem.
Okay, so please consult me. I'll link you. Anyway, on that note, though, it's been a very interesting discussion. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation, Comrade James Ezema, to be in the studio this morning. For me, it was a delight talking to you.
Thank you for inviting me.
That is where we're going to call it a wrap on the press this morning on KAFTAN Television. Thank you very much for being there. I mustn't fail to thank our production team, talking about Mr. Capacity, talking about Divine.